The snow fell softly on Evergreen Park, covering the benches and pathways in a blanket of white that sparkled under the strings of Christmas lights woven through the bare tree branches. The large evergreen at the center stood decorated and magnificent, its ornaments catching the glow from the surrounding lamps and casting prismatic colors across the fresh snow. Ethan Walker sat alone on a bench facing that tree. His expensive black overcoat was dusted with snowflakes he didn't bother to brush away. His hands were clasped between his knees, shoulders hunched forward. If someone had looked closely, they might have seen the slight tremor in his jaw, the suspicious brightness in his eyes that suggested tears he was fighting not to shed. It was Christmas Eve. All around him, families walked past, children laughing and pointing at the decorations, parents holding hands and carrying last-minute gifts. Their joy felt like it belonged to a different world, one Ethan could observe but no longer inhabit. He was 43 years old, CEO of Walker Enterprises, one of the most successful investment firms on the East Coast. He had wealth most people could only dream of, a penthouse overlooking the city, a vacation home in the mountains. By any objective measure, he was successful beyond imagination. He was also completely, devastatingly alone. His marriage had ended 8 months earlier. Jennifer had sat him down one evening in May and told him, with careful gentleness that somehow hurt more than anger would have, that she couldn't do it anymore. 10 years married to a man who was never home, who prioritized board meetings over birthday dinners, who had missed their anniversary 3 years in a row because of unavoidable business trips. She had tried, she said, but she was tired of being married to someone who was physically present maybe 30% of the time and emotionally present even less. Ethan had wanted to argue, to defend himself, but he couldn't. Because she was right. They had never had children, something Jennifer had wanted desperately, and he had kept putting off. Next year, he'd always said. When things settle down at work. Things never settled down. And now there would be no next year, no children, no family. Just him, his success, and a loneliness that seemed to intensify during the holidays. He didn't realize he was crying until a small voice said, "Mister, why are you sad?" Ethan wiped his eyes quickly and looked up. A little boy stood a few feet away, about 5 or 6, wearing a bright red coat and a tan knit hat with bare ears. His mittened hands clutched a paper bag, and his cheeks were pink from the cold. "I'm fine," Ethan said, voice rough. "Thank you for asking." The boy tilted his head. "You don't look fine. You look like you're crying." Ethan managed a weak smile. "Just something in my eye. The snow, probably." The boy considered this, then shook his head with the way only children can, certain, solemn, ancient. "I don't think it's the snow. I think you're sad." He paused, then brightened. "Don't cry, mister. You can borrow my mom. She's really good at making people feel better." The statement was so unexpected, so innocently generous, that fresh tears threatened Ethan's eyes. "That's very kind of you," he said carefully. "But I'm sure your mom is busy." "Oliver," a woman's voice called, warm but edged with worry. "Oh well, what did I tell you about talking to strangers?" A young woman hurried toward them, blonde hair escaping a cream-colored hat, gray coat over a cream sweater, shopping bags in both hands. Her face was flushed, expression a mix of concern for her son and apology. "I'm so sorry," she said, reaching Oliver and resting a hand on his shoulder. "I hope he wasn't bothering you." "But Mom, he's crying," Oliver protested, pointing with a mitten. "He's sad and it's Christmas Eve, and nobody should be sad on Christmas Eve." The woman, Rachel, looked at Ethan, then really looked. She saw the expensive coat open over a tailored suit, the grief he couldn't quite hide, the solitary figure on the bench while families celebrated around him. Her face softened. "Oh," she said quietly. Ethan stood quickly, embarrassed. He was only being kind. Very kind, actually. He looked down at Oliver. "Thank you for your concern, young man. You have a good heart." Oliver beamed, then held out his paper bag. "Do you want a cookie? Mom and I made them today. They're chocolate chip and they're really good. She always says cookies make everything a little better." Ethan felt something crack inside his chest. I couldn't take your cookies. Please, Oliver insisted, shaking the bag. We made lots, and you look like you need one. Rachel smiled, small and genuine. He's not wrong. We did make quite a few, and honestly, they're pretty good if I do say so myself. She hesitated, then seemed to decide something. Would you like to sit for a minute? We were just taking a break to look at the tree. Ethan knew he should refuse. Instead, he heard himself say, "If you're sure I'm not intruding." "Not at all." They settled on the bench, Oliver proudly wedged between them like he'd planned it all along.
I'm Metan.
Rachel Morrison, she said. And this is Oliver. I'm 5 3/4, Oliver announced. Almost 6. That's a very important age, Ethan said gravely, accepting the cookie Oliver thrust at him. It was still slightly warm, chocolate perfectly melted. Your mother is right. These are excellent. Oliver preened. Mom's the best baker. They talked about dinosaurs. Ethan surprised himself by remembering far more than he thought he would, about Christmas traditions, about the best kind of hot chocolate. Ethan learned Rachel was a pediatric nurse, that she and Oliver had moved here 2 years ago after her own divorce, that she worked 12-hour shifts, but never missed a school play or a bedtime story. It's not always easy, she admitted quietly, eyes on the tree lights. Some days I'm just surviving. But then Oliver does something impossibly kind, like offering cookies to sad strangers in parks, and I remember we're more than okay. He's a wonderful kid, Ethan said. You should be proud. I am. He's my whole world. The words landed like a stone in Ethan's hollow chest. Eventually Rachel stood. We should finish our deliveries. She paused, then added in a rush. I meant what I said earlier. If you don't have plans tomorrow, we live on Maple Street, the blue house with white shutters. Pancakes shaped like snowmen, pajamas all day, terrible dinosaur impressions by me. You'd be welcome. Truly. She scribbled her address on a receipt and pressed it into his hand. Their fingers brushed. Her touch was brief, warm, steadying. No pressure, she said softly. But the offer stands. That night in his echoing penthouse, Ethan couldn't sleep. He kept seeing Oliver's earnest face, Rachel's gentle eyes. He kept hearing Jennifer's voice. You forgot to build a life. At 3 a.m., he got up and started making calls. By 10:30 Christmas morning, he stood on the porch of the little blue house in jeans and the softest sweater he owned, arms full of bags, heart hammering louder than it ever had before a board meeting. Oliver opened the door in dinosaur pajamas. His face split into pure sunshine.
Mom.
He came. The sad Mr. came. Rachel appeared behind him in flannel pants and an old college sweatshirt, hair in a messy ponytail, no makeup. Ethan thought she had never seen anyone more beautiful. You came, she said, and the wonder in her voice made everything worth it. I brought reinforcements, he said, lifting the bags sheepishly. Snowman pancake ingredients, real maple syrup, the good hot chocolate mix, ridiculous number of Christmas movies, and one highly accurate Spinosaurus. He pulled the large, detailed figure from the last bag. Oliver's eyes went round as saucers. A real one? A toy one, Ethan laughed, crouching. But see the sail? And the crocodile snout. Oliver launched himself at Ethan, arms around his neck. Ethan froze for half a second, then hugged the boy back, eyes stinging. Thank you, Mr. Ethan, Oliver whispered against his shoulder. Rachel watched them, something soft and wondering on her face. You really didn't have to do all this. I wanted to, Ethan said. You gave me Christmas when you had none. This is the least I can do. The day unfolded like a dream Ethan hadn't known he was allowed to have. They made snowman pancakes. Ethan's first attempts were tragic blobs until Rachel stood beside him at the stove, her hand guiding his over the batter, showing him how to pour 3 circles that touched but didn't merge. He was hyper-aware of her warmth, the faint scent of vanilla and pine in her hair. When a perfect snowman finally emerged, they cheered like children. They watched movies on the couch, Oliver curled between them like a small furnace. Ethan's arm ended up along the back of the sofa. Rachel leaned into the corner, close enough that their shoulders brushed whenever they laughed. Neither moved away. In the afternoon, Oliver napped among a battlefield of dinosaurs. Ethan and Rachel cleaned the kitchen in comfortable quiet. "Thank you," Ethan said eventually, drying a plate. I haven't had a day like this in so long. I'm not sure I ever did." Rachel leaned against the counter. "Me neither, actually. Not since before the divorce. It's usually just the two of us, and I love that," but she shrugged, smiling. Today felt like more. Ethan set the plate down. "Rachel, I don't want to overstep, but may I take you both to dinner next week? Not as payment. Just because I'd like to see you again. Both of you." Her eyes searched his face. Whatever she saw there made her smile widen, slow and luminous. "I'd like that very much," she said. "We'd like that." Oliver woke up demanding another dinosaur war. Ethan stayed until the streetlights came on and the snow began falling again in fat, gentle flakes. When it was time to go, Oliver hugged him fiercely. "Will you come back, Mr. Ethan?" Ethan knelt. "If it's okay with your mom, I'd like to come back a lot." Rachel walked him to the door. Snow swirled around them on the porch. "I'm glad you came today," she said quietly. "I'm glad you asked me to," he answered. Then, because the moment felt right, and the year was ending and new ones were beginning, he brushed a snowflake from her cheek with his thumb. She didn't pull away. "Merry Christmas, Rachel." "Merry Christmas, Ethan." He walked home through the quiet streets lighter than he had felt in years. Behind him, in the little blue house with white shutters, lights glowed warm against the dark, and a 5-almost 6-year-old boy fell asleep clutching a Spinosaurus, dreaming of new friends. And somewhere between the snowflakes and the colored lights, Ethan Walker finally understood what Jennifer had meant. Success was empty.